Are you an accounting or tax professional who wants to stay ahead without spending a dime? Join thousands who trust insightful accountant and tax practice news to keep them informed and empowered. Get expert updates on QuickBooks, Xero, tax planning strategies, and workflow tips delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a solo bookkeeper, firm leader, or tax advisor, these newsletters are your shortcut to what's next in the profession. They're free, practical, and built for people like you. Visit insightfulaccountant.com and hit subscribe to start your smarter workflow today for free.
All right, here we go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders Podcast. My name is Gary DeHart. I am the publisher of Insightful Accountant and the host of the Accounting Insiders Podcast. My guest today is Linda Hunt. Linda is the founder of SumSolutions. Some call her the money clarity
Catalyst.
expert or catalyst. The money clarity catalyst. There we go. And but also today it's March the 17th, which I didn't even realize it was St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm not wearing my green, but I work alone, so I'm safe. But she's also the author, dropped today, right, of a new book called The Money Conversation. Speak the truth, set the standard, and get paid without apology. We would all like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. That book came out of a lived experience. It was all the things I struggled with when I first started my business. I actually started one of the first remote accounting businesses. I've been around for a while. So I started that back in 98 before the internet really supported remote accounting services. So we kind of grew from creating real strong processes and communications, which then we later applied tools to. But yeah, I made every pricing mistake, Gary, that you could make in and then again. So this book was 15 years in my head. Wrote it last year and then it came out today. So it's quite an accomplishment. I'm very proud of it.
It's fantastic. And that's available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com.
Yes.
And again, it's called The Money Conversation. Speak the truth, set standard, and get paid without apologies by Linda Hunt, The Money Clarity. I'm sorry, I forgot the other word. We were just talking about this.
Clarity. Yeah, that's okay. Clarity.
Yeah.
Money clarity. Somebody called me a money. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're a money clarity catalyst." And I'm like, "Huh."
Catalyst. There we
It
go.
has a little ring to it.
Right.
Yeah, but really, the money conversation is really about helping people realize that they're not alone with their struggles with money and that there's a different way to relate to it. So the book really, because one of the things that I struggled with was, I charged by the hour, and I didn't know how to state my rate. And every time I stated my rate, my voice would shake and I would wobble. And, yeah. And it was just, I loved doing what I did. I used to regret and cringe, like, okay, here's the proposal. And I used to talk about all the things, right? Like, this is how I can help you and blah, 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 blah. And I would gloss over how to get paid. And as we all know, if we're not getting paid, we have a very expensive hobby. We don't have a business. We have a very expensive hobby. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And then, accounting professionals, defense, the profession is not full of salespeople.
It's
right?
not.
The large majority of the people in this profession are in the profession because they want to serve their clients, and they don't necessarily want to have a sales conversation or have that.
Right.
You don't mind having a money conversation, but you don't want to have the sales side of the money conversation where you're saying, hey, you got to pay me for the services, which, and this is kind of a question, kind of a statement, leads to underpricing and undervaluing yourself and your services, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just hit, like, that's exactly what I did when I'm a corporate dropout. So I left and I started my business, and I, went to an hourly rate, and I'm holding myself out as a bookkeeper, and I was doing so much more, but that's not really the point of it. The point of it is I was charging $25 an hour, and there was a mismatch between the level and the value that I was providing, right? And the remuneration, what I was being paid. And I think oftentimes, especially in our profession, right? So I'm not even going to just relate this to women. Women have this problem a little bit more than men, but I do see this, Gary, in our in the accounting services profession. We're not comfortable talking about how we charge for our services. And that was what primarily I struggled with. So one of the things that I did was, because it was so uncomfortable for me, is I created what I called a bookkeeping evaluation. And the bookkeeping evaluation was a way for me to solution sell, right? Because that felt more natural. And I think in our industry that feels more natural because we are providing solutions. So the bookkeeping evaluation was just basically, hey, I'm going to look at your accounting file. I'm going to identify, based on everything you've told me that's a problem. And I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say what you need to have. And I'm going to charge you, I don't know, let's just say like $200. I think that's what I was charging back then. Um, and it's a base rate. And I'm going to prepare a report, which really the report was a way for me to scope out how much it was going to cost me to correct their accounting file. That gave me a little bit of a framework. Really, I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but what it did is it gave me confidence because I started showing value, but I was getting paid, right? I wasn't providing value without getting paid. And that's another thing we can talk about. A lot of times service providers do that. And then the potential client walks away because they got everything they need for free. But anyway, the report then demonstrates value. It shows them it's a very low cost way for someone to experience what it would be like to work with you. Because how many times have we heard, I've hired, an accounting professional, I've hired a bookkeeper, and my books are still a mess. How do I know you're going to be different? Like the prospect may not be saying that, but they may be thinking it and you're feeling it, right? And that's uncomfortable because I find that most of us in our profession are intuitive with numbers, and we can feel that the potential client feels uneasy. Anyway, back to the bookkeeping evaluation, I was able to sell those. I was getting clients into the pipeline, which was the cleanup phase, right? Or I used to call it partnering up. And then when I was in the partnering up phase, I'm like, well, we can continue to help you. And then I would get them into recurring revenue. It became a pathway, a very easy pathway for me to bring someone in and and kind of like and maybe and again, it was more for me than them, right? It was me stepping like, okay, all I have to do is sell them to the, give them this solution, and then the next solution, and I'm going to build trust with them and they're going to see how I work, and then we are going to continue to provide ongoing services. So that was my first step into um giving myself confidence, right? Because I didn't feel like I was in a hard pressed sales conversation. I was like, I can help you, and here's how I can help you. Yeah. So I was able to
Right.
demonstrate,
Yeah. Yeah,
demonstrate.
and when you come from a position of clarity and strength and confidence, right?
Yeah.
That's all the difference. I saw this little clip. I don't know if you ever saw the TV series Suits. This
Oh,
little
yes.
clip popped up. One of the main guys, he was hiring an assistant,
Hmm.
and um, he has this first person he's interviewing is this younger, she's like 24 years old, and then he goes out in the lobby, and there's all these people who look exactly the same. They're all in the early 20s. And then there's one lady who's probably in her 50s, right? Late 40s, early 50s. And he's like, you come in next. And he walks in. He's like, so what have you been doing? She's like, I've been a law clerk for, this long. He's like, are you any good? She's like, I'm amazing at what I do. You're hired. Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she had that confidence. And
Yeah.
if we come in with that level of confidence,
Yeah.
we've already done half the fight's over.
Right.
Because if you don't have
Absolutely.
confidence in yourself and you can't demonstrate that confidence, well, I'm not going to have confidence in you.
Yes, and you just hit the nail on the head. That's exactly it. Because if you're uncertain, the prospect's going to pick up on that, and you're going to, they're going to be thinking, oh, this might not be the right person for me. And how we do that, the best way to get confidence is, um, being assured in your process, right? Being able to explain the transformation. So how many times have we heard from a prospective accounting client, like, oh, my numbers don't make sense, right? I can't get good financials, or I can't get reliable financials. So instead of us going, well, yeah, I can do that for you, you can say, you just kind of talk to your process a little bit and you say, well, the way we provide our accounting services, you're going to, not only are they going to be accurate, God, now I'm on the spot. I'm not going to be able to come up with it right away, but basically
I've
what you
lost
want
all my
them,
confidence.
yeah, but basically it's kind of you walking them through and say, well, when clients work with us, we take these 3 steps to make sure that your accounting is accurate, right? And your books are closed by by the 8th of the month, every single month. So it's about talking to our clients, kind of using their words, but with the result, like what's the problem we're solving for them, right? So their concern is, I'm not getting financials regularly or on time or accurately. So yes, we can do that for you. We close our books by the 8th of every month, and we have a team that you have, let's just say, we have a team of professionals. You have a bookkeeper and an accounting manager on your account, making sure that everything is accurate and up to date. It's just about addressing the issues. They don't care that you're reconciling accounts. That's the tasks. They're more interested in, can you solve my problem? Can you,
Yeah.
and my problem is, I'm not getting my financials, or I'm not getting accurate financials.
Right. Yeah. Am I going to have clarity on my financials? And if I have a question, are you going to be able to answer it for me? I mean, I'm a
Exact,
small business owner. That's what I want to
exactly.
know. I want to know it's
Yeah.
getting done. I want to know it's getting done properly. I want to
Right.
know if I have a question of,
Right.
QuickBooks or whatever the platform is that you're using,
Yeah.
that you can help me and, solve
You
my problem,
can
whatever
help
it
me
is.
solve my
And
problem. Yeah.
yeah, and I think too, what may get lost in that whole pricing discussion, and I'm not an accountant, I'm not a bookkeeper, I've never tried to go and sell these services, although I should, just to see what the conversations are like. Um, the I think one thing that gets lost is the value of the client's time, right? So
Correct.
if you're an accounting professional and you're talking to a lawyer, right? Lawyer makes $400,000 a year.
Right.
His time is not $25 an hour.
Right.
His time is
Right. Right.
$400 an hour.
Right.
And if you can save him an hour of his time, he'll gladly pay you
Right.
whatever you're
Exactly.
asking, if it's right, if it's done right.
If it's done right, and you're exactly right. And something else I want to highlight too is, um as accounting professionals, we're interviewing them just as much as they are interviewing us. You want to make sure that the client that you're targeting is a fit. So your example there, you have a lawyer. If you have a lawyer who's making $400,000 and they're still doing their own bookkeeping, there might be something else going on there that they might meant psychologically might not be the right fit client for you, right? They might have control issues, right? And they might want to micromanage what you're doing. So even though it's always nice to get the business, we have to know the type of client that's best for us to work with. And like, I know, for example, my firm, we focused on being the live accounting department, meaning we're lockstep with the clients that we're working with. I did not operate well with clients who wanted their books only updated on a historical basis. It Yes, could we do it? Yes, we could, but there was a lot of what I want to say. Chasing down information, right? Like following up with it. Whereas I had a colleague who that's all they did. They only worked with
Mhm.
historical based businesses, and they had no problem getting the information. So I was kind of like, huh, that was kind of an interesting revelation. So I'm like, hey, can I refer these over to you? And she's like, yeah, can I refer the ones who want live? So it's about knowing who you like to work with and how you like to
Yeah.
work with them, right? Because that's the other piece of it. Um, Yeah, but yeah, definitely saving time for our clients, that is a huge, especially if you're working with the entrepreneur who's kind of graduating, right? From, hey, I'm doing it myself and now I'm getting ready to scale and leverage. And if you hear that, you want to go in, well, we can help you scale and leverage. And here's how. We can make sure that your
Mm.
books are accurate. We can make sure that your systems are growing with you so that your business is supported and that you're continuously getting information from which you can make decisions from. So you see, I didn't talk anything about reconciling your bank account. I talked
Right.
about the results, right? So you want to talk about the results that they're going to get. Yeah. The pain points.
And so currently your business is kind of twofold, right? You've
Yes.
got accounting clients and then you
Yes.
have training clients. And
Yes.
um, so let's talk a little bit on that. And how does that break out? Like is that a 50-50 split on your time and
No,
your revenue or
Not really. No. Well, the training division's relatively new in the past, the past year, I would say. I did used to teach the bookkeeper's business blueprint about 10 years ago, and I kind of moved away from training for a bit. But the problem still exists, so I kind of went back there. So predominantly the bigger half of our firm is accounting services and what I refer to as financial architecture. Like we do a lot of diagnostic where clients come to us and they're looking for like their systems just don't talk to each other and they don't have the financial controls. But the training side is where I work with professionals mostly on their money conversations, right? On their pricing. If they're having challenges around their pricing, they're not sure how to move from hourly to, say, creating packages, or they're having challenges around, I don't know how to raise my rates, right? So the book is going to give you a lot of that information, but sometimes you're kind of circling around. Um, you're circling around how to there's a nervous system capacity, right? And what I mean by that is we need we have to, as business owners, expand our nervous system, right, to hold more. So when I first started working, you heard me say I was charging I don't know if we said this in the green room actually or now, but I used to charge $25 an hour, right, for bookkeeping. And basically I was paying my clients to work for them. I wasn't making enough money to support myself or my business. And when I realized that, I had to raise my rate. I knew I had to raise my rate too. And I think it was something like maybe at the time, you realize this is back in, early 2000s, maybe $65 an hour, right? That felt so scary, right? To be able to say $65 an hour. I had to expand my nervous system, right? I had to expand myself so that I believed I was worth it. But when I said it out loud, I was fearful of being judged, right? I was fearful of people thinking, "Oh, well, who the heck does she think she is charging that much money?" And those are the things, that's what I'm talking about, the nervous system capacity. So a lot of times people know their number, but pricing isn't math, right? Pricing is really it's energetics and it's alignment. So we'll have a pricing reset session where we actually work through those issues and I give them the language and we help role play and do different things where they can actually go and within days of having that session, they've actually raised their rates, they've renegotiated contracts that or no longer a fit. So it's I don't want to call it a confidence booster, but it kind of is. Yeah. So we
sure.
have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife's a teacher and this is her last year teaching and she's going to start tutoring.
Okay.
Um, either in the summer or in the fall, and we're having a very similar discussion. She currently teaches third grade dyslexic
Okay.
kids, and so that's who she's going to hyper focus on in her next venture here, and the whole money discussion and pricing
Yeah.
and she's like, oh, that just seems like it's so much. I'm like, but you have 30 years of
Expertise.
teaching experience. They're not
Yes.
paying you for they're not they're not paying you for the hour, they're paying you for the 30 years.
Yes,
And
exactly. So, yes, and that's the value, right? So, on my website, Gary, I actually have a free training called the Perfect Pricing Formula. maybe your wife wants to go take a look at that. But basically, and the reason why I call it the perfect pricing formula is it teaches MAP. It's called the minimum aligned price. If you are charging below this minimum aligned price, which is based on how much you need to support yourself, your life, and I'm not talking like skimping by, I'm talking about, paying yourself enough to have savings and that from your business, and then your business expenses, and then you divide that by your true capacity. A mistake that we often make as service providers is that we do not incorporate time off. We do not, like, time for vacation, time for sick time to think about strategically about our business. But what you talked about, and this is so important for your wife has 30 years of experience. She gets a new student. Before she even meets with that student and does teaching, she's doing something very crucial. She is actually thinking through, okay, I've interviewed this child, I've talked to this child. How do I best help this child learn? That is invisible work. That is strategic work. And every single one of us as service providers, we do that. So that all has to be accounted for in your pricing. And so the perfect pricing formula teaches you how to do that. It's a 15, 20-minute video. It's free. It's going to help you get to your minimum aligned price. And there's also a companion workbook with it. So please, if you even think like in the slightest chance you're not charging enough, go do that training, because it's a great diagnostic. And it was the first thing I actually did, because I was not charging enough when I first started my business. I could not, I was struggling to pay my bills. I went from having a corporate job. And I think when we have a job, we're used to, you start out with your first job, you trade dollars for hours, right? And yes, I was salaried when I left corporate, but it still is that same model. So when I started my business, I was thinking in those terms. But we have, as service professionals, we have experience, we have training that we're taking, we are developing our expertise, we are doing things. So that minimum aligned price is your floor. It is not what you charge. It is just the baseline that you need to help your business sustain itself. And then there's the X factor of the value, right? The transformation. Now, your wife with 30 years experience might be able to help get a dyslexic child to a result. I don't know, I'm being arbitrary here, but let's say 3 sessions, whereas a newer teacher might need 6. There's value in that. There's absolute value in that. So that's where the X factor comes in. So
yeah, and we'll keep picking on her, and on the front end work, which you talked about, being able to clearly articulate, with the parents,
yes,
typically the mother, but clearly articulate with the parents that, hey, here's the baseline, here's where your child is right now.
exactly.
Here, with the work and with the plan, we'll get them, on average, we'll get them to here.
Yes,
Now, and here's the road bump, here's the speed bumps that we're going to run across.
right.
And is able to really help lay out kind of a
Exactly.
plan to get the
Right.
child from A to B,
Right.
with realistic expectations. Right. And so,
Exactly.
because
With
she's been there and
realistic
done that.
milestones. And that, yeah. So hearkening that back. So for the accounting professionals, that's what the evaluation did, right? That evaluation allowed me to say, okay, you absolutely need to do X, Y, and Z to get your books level set, right? And then here you told me that you also wanted, I don't know, cash flow forecasting. Well, we can't get to cash flow forecasting until we know what are your books and records accurate, right? So it's about, it's level setting. It's like, here's where you're starting from and here's where we can get you. And it's showing them that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back. I don't want to run out of time, but we in the green room we talked about kind of the tech stack, and this ties in
Oh,
with what you
yes.
were just talking about. In order we have now there's a gazillion apps, right, that can do everything, and now
Yeah.
a gazillion and another gazillion because they're all AI, this, that, and the other
Yes.
thing. So as a professional or a consultant or accounting
Yeah.
firm, how do you go through that process of helping the client develop a tech stack? Or do you
Yeah.
say, hey, here's the tech stack I use? What
Yes.
does that look like? And then how much ownership do you or should you have in
Great questions.
process, learning, training
Great
of
questions.
those
Yeah.
apps?
So I'm going to divide that up into two different categories, right? So there's the accounting tech stack, and I'll talk to that first. In my firm, we use Double. We absolutely love Double. We've kind of customized. It used to be called Keeper, now it's called Double.
Yeah.
We've customized that to help us streamline the entire month end close process. We basically consider day one of the month to be, part of the close, and we take it all the way through. So we use that. That's a tool that we carry, okay, at the cost of. But then the other tools that we use, we're a QuickBooks shop. So I do not specialize in Xero or any other program. So we are quick. So those are the two we use there. We are a we use bill.com as our payables, although we might be moving to the QuickBooks one. I'm not quite sure yet. So we're kind of evaluating that, but we recommend bill.com for bill payment because of the controls that are there, and you can route things through, because while you might be responsible for paying bills, they're responsible for approving them. And that has the best, to me, I really like the workflow that we can use there. And then if the client has credit cards with multiple credit card holders, or even if the business owner has multiple credit cards, if they only have one credit card and it comes to the bank, we will kind of use that, but we recommend Expensify. That's because I think you accounting professionals will know, I know there's Ramp, and there's bill.com has they bought Debbie. Those credit cards do not give the business owner the points. So the only program out there that I have found so far is Expensify, that allows you to use like Amex or whatever credit card you have, and it kind of brings it puts the responsibility on the credit card holder to provide you with the receipt, right? So we're creating co-accountabilities through bill.com and Expensify. Then a lot of times, so depending on the kind of firm we have, we also use Bookkeep a lot. If we have a company that has a shopping cart and their online sales, Bookkeep is a great program that kind of brings that in. That we'll recommend that to the customer, but the programs that I just mentioned, our client bears the cost of that. We do not bear the cost of those, because just because we recommend it, it's something that they should have to streamline their bookkeeping. And how we contrast that to them is we say, okay, if we had to do this manually, this is what your bill would look like. By using these programs, here's the cost, but there's a savings here to you, and you can take these programs with you whether you use us or not. Then sometimes clients come to us and they have a customized system, right? It's something that's industry specific that interacts with QuickBooks. I'm trying to think of, we had a client who uses Zenoti. Zenoti is a medical spa software. And then we have another client who uses Aspire. They're commercial contractors. Those programs are technically owned by the business that you're working with. And really what your responsibility there is to understand how it interacts with the accounting system, right? Now, if they want you, so in these instances, we have set up financial operations, which means the invoicing is happening. We also have another firm. What the heck is it? It's a elder care, and they have a system, but the financial operations, the billing is happening internal to the organization. It is not something that we are doing. However, a couple clients have come to us and said, this is a system we use. We want your team to do the billing. And then it is their responsibility to provide us with the training at their cost, because they want us to learn a customized system. So I guess what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded way is it's very important for us to understand the boundaries of what we're responsible for and what we're not. We are not responsible for knowing every customized system. If the client wants you in there and they want you learning it, at a minimum, they should give you some basic training, access to the program, absolutely basic training. If you're going to be having a team member who does something in that, I recommend that you get training from them. You actually have a backup person and you're documenting that so that if you ever have turnover, you're not interrupted. Um, but then you also want to have your favorite tools that you recommend to the customer. And we have the same tools throughout all of our um through all the majority of our clients. Where we get some variation is on the payroll systems. And I'm finding that Gusto has become a pretty common and payroll system that people like. So we're kind of finding that people are consolidating there because it's cost effective and it's pretty easy to use. And then we have clients who jump up to things like iSolved or there's another big payroll system, but I'm finding that the payroll processing thing is consolidating to just a few systems. So, but
Okay.
we don't push them on the payroll system because it's a little bit more involved. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so what about niching down and
Yeah.
just actually I'm gonna recap what you just said. So basically there what you recommend and what you do within your firm is you have the firm tech stack, and then for your clients, they have ownership of their stack. If they want you guys being really intimately involved in that, then they're going to need to train you, give you
Yes.
access, maybe pay you to train you,
Yes.
which would be fair, right?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
but I don't know if you said whether you get as far as into recommending solutions
Oh, excuse me.
beyond like an Expensify or these things that you work with on a daily basis within your own firm.
So we uh most of our clients, the only systems that we're really recommending is that Expensify, is that like Bookkeep, if we're
Yeah.
finding um if a client is kind of teetering on that and they know they need some kind of system that they want to use from the quoting all the way through invoicing, they've already done a lot of research on that and they come to us with the recommendation. So I don't get involved in scoping out systems for them. Um, I have been brought in, and my team has been brought into some situations where they're like, hey, we're considering this system. Could you look at it from the accounting point of view? And we'll have input that way. But usually they're the industry expert, so they kind of bring a few, and there have been a few times where I'm like, yeah, that system's not going to do what you think it's going to do, or whatever.
They had a good sales guy.
Yeah. They had a good sales guy. Absolutely.
So we're going to start pushing towards the end here, but
Okay.
in the green room we talked about, do you niche, do you not niche? You sort of do in your firm,
Yes.
but what do you see? Well, two questions. What do you recommend there? And
Mhm.
then what are you seeing taking place in the profession? Are are firms niching, or are they kind of going, I'm going to hedge my bets?
Yeah, let me okay, so first part, we quasi niche. So when I was new in the my business, I actually, and before things were really remote, like after COVID, everything kind of blew up so you can work with
Yeah,
people on any coast. But um we niche in a couple of related industries like construction, real estate, and I forget the third one. Oh, interior designers. And then we kind of had a glut here in the Northeast, especially in Connecticut where I am, and I had a downturn, right? So I learned niching is good, right? Because then you kind of become an expert in it. But I didn't niche in I've kind of diversified and don't niche in have the majority of my portfolio in related industries. So we niche, but we niche in non-related industries, if that makes sense.
okay. Yeah,
What am
yeah.
I seeing in the industry? As far as niching goes, I'm seeing that a lot more with the CFOs, the fractional CFOs, that they're niching, and we do have a couple of those partners that we work with, so we're naturally niching with them. Um, a lot of CFOs, there's trends on the professional services. So I'm seeing that. Then there's also still the franchises, right? There are bookkeepers who are getting like 5, 6, 7 Chick-fil-A's or whatever, and they're helping, they do a lot of the franchise accounting. So I'm seeing that's the other prevalent thing that I'm seeing. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that's actually a good insight just from the, because the profession for many years, right? The talking heads said, hey, niche, 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 and if riches are in the niches. But that's a really good point, though. And hey, if I'm all around, if everything I do is tied to construction and real estate, well, guess what? There are booms and there are busts, and
Yes.
it's not
Right.
if, it's
It's
when.
when. Yeah.
And if your eggs are all in that basket, you're going to have a lot of cracked eggs, right? And when it
Yes.
falls,
Yes.
um,
And it would, yeah. And and it's a lesson. It's like I didn't even think about it, right? Back then I was just like it was just natural. But it really did my our we I think the real estate industry here suffered for like 18 months and construction was longer than that. So
yeah,
I had to really diversify at that point to because we lost clients went belly up,
sure,
during that
yep,
time frame. So yeah. Yeah. And you don't ever want to build your revenue stream where someone else can break it. Right. So that
right.
was the lesson I learned there. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great insight. And then one other thing, and then we'll wrap it up, unless you
Okay.
had anything else that we didn't cover, and that was going back to it's tied with pricing, but I think it's more about kind of having that confidence.
Okay.
And so my mother built houses for probably 20 years, and she was a general contractor, and she would never, ever, I don't say never, she had a very hard time of charging people for change orders. And if you've been in that around that business at
Yeah.
all, that'll kill
Yeah.
you, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and
Everything's a
the
change order.
change, right? Yeah. The change order for the profession is, hey, do you have a minute? Or I just have a little question for you, right?
Yes.
When the client reaches out and says, hey, I've got a little question. That's fine, but it's not going to be a little question, and it's not 1 minute. It's going to be
Right.
20 minutes or an hour,
Right.
right?
Right.
And just going back to that, having that confidence to say,
Yeah.
this is going to be a billable conversation,
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
or being priced so that they can call you anytime. They can call me anytime you want. This is the package. It's gonna, it's expensive. It's going to
Exactly.
cost you, but I'm on call for you.
Exactly. And that on call doesn't have to be 24/7. So Gary, in our packages, we do include customary and regular questions. And even though they have a package, there are times where they're going to ask us for something. Like we include what's the wording? The wording is something I can't remember the wording, isn't that terrible? But it's about like expense analysis, right? But regular I don't know if I call it regular. Anyway, client called, they wanted some kind of elaborate um analysis done that was going to take time to pull. It wasn't just pulling a report, it was pulling a report, putting things together, creating this whole other scenario for them. And we went back to them and said, okay, this is a custom request and it's going to be X. But yeah, you absolutely. But the other point I want to make too is in our packages, we have hours, right? We let the client know, like, yes, you can reach out to us with a question. We will get back to you. If it's not urgent, we give them a way to escalate things. And we will get back to you within 24 hours and during business days. So if you ask your question on 5 o'clock on a Friday, you're not going to get your answer until Monday possibly. Then again, you do strive for customer service, but you get to define how and when clients communicate with you. So yes, because 24/7 access is expensive.
It is very expensive. I like my time.
Yes, me
So,
too.
all right. So there were two things we want people to do. One is visit your website, which was, what's the website? Is it just
So this
sumsolutions.com?
Yes, SumSolutions.com. If you go to the Start Here page, you will see the perfect pricing formula right there. So that's, to me, I think everyone should do that. It's a great diagnostic. It'll tell you if you're undercharged, if you're underpricing. Yep.
Perfect. The number 2 was The Money Conversation, your new book launched on today's recording day of March the 17th. You can find it on Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com, right?
Yes.
I'm not getting any commissions here, but jump out there and grab the book. And it's not like a novel, right?
No. It is really,
very consumable, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's about 112 pages, 15 pages. It is no fluff. It is something you can get through pretty easy. I've actually had, I've had a lot of good pre-read feedback on it. And people are saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And these are seasoned people. And so I hope if you read it, I hope you like it, and let me know. Let me know how it changes your perception on money, because I would love to hear that. Yeah.
Great. All right. Belinda, thank you so much. Thanks for taking some time today, and good luck with the book launch.
Thank you very much. This was a great conversation. Thank you.
We'll talk soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you by Insightful Accountants Be Insightful membership program. Get 9 expert-led training tracks, over 30 CPE hours a year, hands-on workshops, and year-round premium content to grow your skills and your practice. Learn more at blog.insightfulaccountant.com. Just click the Premium Member Content button.